The FIFA World Cup is finally here.
Do you really want it? Yeah. Do you really want it? Yeah.
It's the greatest sporting tournament in the world where teams from all over the planet compete to be the final 32 teams that will participate in the World Cup finals every 4 years. However, maybe you've noticed, maybe you haven't, but there's something very weird about this particular World Cup. This year's FIFA World Cup is being organized in Qatar, a country that has never qualified for the World Cup before. Also, World Cups are usually organized in the summer when most of the big league seasons have ended. But Qatari summer weather can go up to 45 degrees Celsius to 50 degrees Celsius, which means the European players playing in the World Cup would get cooked like a tunde kebab on a Friday evening. So for the first time in the history of the World Cup was moved from the summer to the winter when the weather would be a little bit more manageable. Again, this was done despite the fact that it would disrupt many of the biggest football leagues in the world, so much so that all of those leagues would need to take a 6-week hiatus in the middle of the season. These disruptions have led many journalists to even claim that Qatar should not even have been considered as a World Cup destination in the first place.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
And the World Cup is also supposed to be a big giant celebration, which means people would like to enjoy themselves at the matches with a drink, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 17. But Qatar, where this year's World Cup is being organized, has some very strict anti-alcohol rules.
Fans will be able to drink in a dedicated Doha fan zone, and ticket holders will have options within the stadium grounds before and after a match in the evenings, but not inside, where there'll only be alcohol-free offerings.
It's a bit like saying, hey guys, welcome to my awesome party. This is going to be the greatest party you have ever attended, but you cannot party in the house, you cannot party in the yard, you cannot party in the garden, you can only party in the bathroom. You cannot play party music, you can only play instrumental classical music. And also, no talking to each other. But other than that, have a great time. Also, we've seen how extremely pro-LGBTQ and other human rights FIFA, UEFA, and the Football Association of England and the other governing bodies are. The Premier League does a Rainbow Laces campaign every year where all the players play their matches wearing rainbow laces, and all the captains wear rainbow armbands, and all the LGBTQ fan groups of various clubs are highlighted. But despite all of that, they decided to host the World Cup in Qatar, which is one of the most anti-LGBTQ countries in the world. Homosexuality is illegal in Qatar, punishable by prison sentences and in some extreme cases even death. There are official decrees that have been issued in Qatar against any homosexuality during the World Cup, where people are asked to stay away from bad behaviors like drinking alcohol, homosexuality, immodesty, loud music and sounds, and dating. The Qatar FIFA World Cup ambassador has said that homosexuality is a damage in the mind. And as you can imagine, these kinds of extreme statements have led many LGBTQ fan groups and even football players feel very nervous about going to Qatar to support their teams or even play for their teams. Qatar has even enacted a sex ban for unmarried fans ahead of the World Cup. And last but not least by any means, the horrific treatment by Qatar of migrant laborers who have built all the new stadiums for the World Cup.
Qatar is a slave state in the 21st century.
A migrant worker can't leave the country without an exit visa. That visa has to be approved by his employer. Who has your passport?
मेरा पासपोर्ट मेरे ऑफिस में था.
So you're trapped here.
Yes.
We've got coffins coming home every day. More than a worker per day on average is dying.
Analysis by The Guardian in 2021 revealed that at least 6,500 migrant workers had died in Qatar since the World Cup was awarded.
And if all these migrant workers dying horrific deaths was not enough, most of the deaths that happened during building these stadiums were classified by Qatar as natural deaths, attributed to sudden and unexplained heart or respiratory failure. Oh yes, of course, the deaths caused by working 20 hours in blistering heat and breathing in fumes, smoke, and dust for 20 hours was absolutely due to natural causes. What's next? People in Qatar are gonna say that 6 million Jews died of a heat stroke during World War II? No way.
Oopsie! Oopsie! Did I just do an oopsie again? I didn't know!
Things are so dire that families of the migrant workers who have died, in some cases, are being asked to pay money in order to get the remains of their dead relatives back from Qatar. So for all of these reasons stated above, and for an organization like FIFA that presents itself as such an inclusive, progressive organization, the World Cup being organized in Qatar makes absolutely no sense. So then why the hell is it being organized in Qatar? Money, man. FIFA is corrupt as f. Basically, in 2010, the host countries for 2018 and 2022 were selected as Russia and Qatar, respectively. Now, FIFA was criticized from various quarters for choosing two host countries at once, because this was the very first time that it had ever happened. Many critics warned that choosing two countries at once might be because of some underlying corruption that has happened. And guess what? They were absolutely bloody right. As right as your mom when she tells you should break up with that girl who only has male friends.
That's a major red flag.
Many high-ranking FIFA officials were accused of taking big bribes in order to award Russia and Qatar the World Cup hosting privilege. People were giving exorbitant amounts of money and even extremely rare Picasso paintings in order to get FIFA officials to vote for Qatar. In fact, a report by the US Justice Department and the FBI found that massive amounts of corruption and money was involved.
A recent FBI investigation uncovered FIFA officials taking kickbacks worth over $150 million.
Ultimately, more than half of the 22 men who voted for Qatar were later accused of or charged with corruption.
So basically, 2/3 of the people that voted for Qatar to be the World Cup host were charged with criminal corruption. And that really raises a lot of questions about Qatar's bid. Because think about it, if 2/3 of the people that manufactured your car were jailed for criminal corruption, you are not going anywhere near that car. You're definitely going to believe there's something wrong with that car. So the whole FIFA process around how countries are selected to host World Cups is extremely mysterious and by all accounts extremely flawed. Sepp Blatter, the FIFA president when Qatar and Russia were chosen, and Michel Platini, the UEFA president and also a high-ranking member of FIFA, both have resigned in disgrace since then. In fact, Sepp Blatter has even come out in recent times and said that awarding World Cup hosting privileges to Qatar was a mistake and we should all just move on. Really? This is like going to a 5-star restaurant, eating a 5-course meal, and then telling the manager that you're not going to pay the bill because you came to this restaurant by mistake and we should all just move on. And unfortunately, these big allegations of corruption is nothing new for FIFA either. Massive charges of corruption and untoward practices were leveled against FIFA even during the Brazil World Cup.
Well, and they're going to make money as well as the money they're spending.
Actually, FIFA makes the money. This is where the controversy is. The country usually doesn't make money. FIFA, the organization of the World Cup, is who makes the money.
A FIFA official turned FBI informant said that FIFA officials took home huge bribes to select South Africa as FIFA World Cup host in 2010.
Now, an FBI informant, Blazer, claimed FIFA officials took home huge bribes in connection with South Africa's selection as 2010 World Cup host.
Major FIFA executives like Jack Warner, Nicolas Leoz, former President João Havelange, and 14 other high-ranking FIFA officials have been charged with, indicted, or arrested in massive corruption cases. So clearly, Qatar and Russia are no anomalies for FIFA. And it's again funny that organizations like FIFA, UEFA, the British Football Association, they act like extremely progressive organizations, while at the same time, the British Football Association allows a country like Saudi Arabia to purchase a major Premier League team like Newcastle United. Ironic, isn't it? Because LGBTQ rights and women's rights in Saudi Arabia are as non-existent as acting talent in Arjun Kapoor. To be fair, the media has been doing a good job of bringing this FIFA's corruption to light. But what's curious is there is one media organization that otherwise is extremely interested in human rights, extremely interested in the state of democracy in India, extremely interested in the state of minorities in India, but is suspiciously quiet about corruption in Qatar and the human rights record of Qatar, which happens to be Al Jazeera and their pet Mehdi Hassan, who haven't really been talking about Qatar's human rights record at all. I wonder why. And Mehdi Hassan, who sees so much injustice in India on a daily basis, so much injustice in Kashmir, and so much racism in Western countries, has no interest in talking about the human rights record of Qatar, and in fact, is very upset that people are questioning Qatar's human rights record and has even called it Qatar phobia in the past. FIFA and Qatar are in damage control mode, and they've even tried to bribe David Beckham to come and endorse the FIFA World Cup in Qatar and save them from this public relations nightmare, but it has not helped at all. So the question is, we all know what a corrupt organization these footballing bodies are. How do you fix this corruption? Fans of many countries are asking to boycott the tournament. Many French cities are also attempting to boycott this tournament on their own end. To their credit, some teams are protesting.
16 players taking a united stand, condemning the World Cup host nation's human rights record and calling for the decriminalisation of same-sex relationships.
And to be honest, some countries' protests are better than others. For example, Denmark is protesting against the World Cup by not boycotting it, but playing in the World Cup. But instead of wearing the red jerseys, they're going to wear black jerseys in order to bring the human rights crisis in Qatar to light. Wow, I can just imagine how moved a dead migrant worker's mother must be by this. My son died a horrible, painful death, but at least Denmark's jersey is black. So I guess it makes it all worth it. But look, to be fair, ultimately, it's not the team's job to protest. Their job is to play. The players in these teams have worked their entire lives to represent their country in the most important sporting event in the world. The sport, migrant workers, the LGBTQ community, football players, and even the fans are being let down by these extremely corrupt football governing bodies and many developed nations who want to do nothing to fix this situation. All these countries talk a huge game to countries like India when it comes to human rights, when it comes to Kashmir, when it comes to the Citizenship Amendment Act, but don't want to do anywhere near enough to take on these corrupt organizations who profit off of despotic, corrupt, and extremely bigoted regimes. And I want to ask you, are you excited for the World Cup? And how do you think, in your opinion, can we fix the massive amounts of corruption that exists in various football governing bodies? Let me know in the comment section down below. As usual, if you liked today's episode, make sure to leave a like, leave a thumbs up, and let me know that if you are enjoying this English video series, what topic should I cover next in my video next week? If you want to check out the latest Sham Sharma show merch, click on the Kadak merch link in the description down below and check that out. If you want to become a patron and join the Sham Sharma show mug club, click on the Patreon link in the description below and become a patron as well. I will see you for the next episode, and until then, stay happy, stay healthy. I will see you next time, and to all of you, a secular pranam.